You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. The number one player in the country for 2026, Jackson Cantwell, just announced his commitment, and he picked Miami over Georgia. Give me some context here. How big of a deal is that?
I think for LSU fans, and the perspective here is what is the domino effect? Because the top two players in America are both offensive tackles. I went and saw them both in person at a Super Bowl event over in New Orleans, and they repped back-to-back, and Jackson Cantwell being the number one, who's now committed to Miami, and then Emmanuel Ihenacho on the East Coast. He's a guy who is ranked as the number 2 OT, but he's also the number 2 player in the country, and these guys are viewed in Will Campbell regard, right? Like very, very highly thought of, going to come in, give you multiple years of starting. Everyone kind of thought before the buzz came out, hey, look, he's settling into a decision, and it's Miami, that it was Georgia. And if it wasn't Georgia, Dan Lanning and Oregon were making this big push. Well, now that he goes to Miami, what does it mean for Ihenacho, who's being recruited by really the same schools, except LSU's the one who Steve Wiltfong reported earlier this week. He's hearing buzz that LSU's moved all the way up to maybe number 2 behind Oregon. So I think a lot of LSU fans were kind of hoping Oregon pulled Jackson Cantwell today, because then maybe that would mean that it opens the door a little more for Ihenacho. But look, they're not connected in any way. So we've seen LSU start 2 guys as true freshmen at right tackle and left tackle. So you can make that pitch if you're any of these schools. But I do think they would have hoped it was Oregon. But hey, it's not Georgia, which is the team that's in the SEC, obviously.
Sure. Shea Dixon's with us. So Cantwell to Miami. We'll wait and see on Ihenacho. Another interesting that I saw from some of your coworkers at On3 is that it looks like LSU might be trending for Darius Gray. Can you give us a little bit of the background on Darius Gray?
Yeah, he's a kid coming out of Virginia who has really, he blew up on coming out of the East Coast probably about a year ago, started really stacking offers. And then after he finished his junior season, the rankings kind of fleshed out to a full, scope of here's the 300 best players, et cetera. He sat there as the number 1 interior offensive lineman for a while now. So he's a 5-star, and Steve Wiltfong was the first to predict him to LSU. He had his pick on South Carolina, which they had a great season. They really tried to use that momentum to get in with a lot of their top guys for the next cycle. And it looked like it was an LSU, it is, I think, an LSU-South Carolina battle. But now Wiltfong thinks he's leaning a little more towards LSU. And look, LSU right now is out on the road recruiting, Matt. And your OC, Joe Sloan, and some of the coaching staffs out on the East Coast, and they went and saw Gray and Ihenacho on the same day. So if there's one thing, they've done a lot of things well, but certainly one of the things they've done well in the Kelly era is, and Brad Davis, is recruit O-linemen. And look, we'll see how it fares, but you're going into this year, your 2 starting tackles are going to be guys you recruited. They're not transfers. Tyree Adams was a top 100 player out of New Orleans who waited his turn, and then Weston Davis is a 5-star out of Beaumont who was committed to A&M that you flipped at the end, and none of those guys hit the portal. And now that Jones and Campbell are in the NFL, you went to the portal, but not for tackles. So I think that you land a guy like Gray, it's just going to continue to build that depth of Cohen Eccles type players who will stick around, develop for a year or 2, and then you can plug them in.
Shea, I know you mentioned some of the guys out on the coaches are out on the road. Who else are they visiting right now that would be notable here since we last spoke?
I thought you were going to just forget what you were talking about, and I was going to encourage you to admit it. But you got it. You worked through it.
No, I know where I am.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's why I always have a sheet of paper and a pen when I do interviews, so I can I'm listening, so I can take notes and know what direction I want to go.
It's a blend. So a lot of kids, it's 2027, and right now we're in the 2026 class. The kids who are committed, they've been jockeying with Southern Cal for the number 1 class. They're 2 right now. They have 9 commits after Ja'Kai Anderson decommitted. Obviously, they're hitting all their top targets in 2026 here in Louisiana or elsewhere. but you're capped on the number of visits, so you're going to use your open dates to go see everybody. So handing out offers for next year, checking out on top targets for next year. But now that spring games are getting here, a number of teams this week have spring games, from Ruston to Destrehan, so you're kind of all over the state. They'll all be back for those Thursday, Friday, checking out guys who are committed, guys who are targets. So it's going to be an interesting stretch, because I think that's usually when we see some new offers go out in Louisiana. We have not seen any new offers go out really in a couple of months now. So with this in-person evaluation period going on, it's kind of a notable time for, hey, who could land an offer before camp season?
Shea, I do have one more I wanted to ask about, and that's Boobie Feaster. We've talked about him a good bit here, but LSU is among the finalists. Can you give us a little bit of context there for Feaster and where LSU sits?
Yeah, well, he's a Louisiana native who, folks moved to Texas, East Texas, so he's playing at DeSoto, which is a school that Jalen Mills at Ingram. I mean, LSU's recruited well over the years. It's not some pipeline to any certain Texas school, and they are a big school in Texas who send a lot of kids to a lot of places who end up being really good college players. So they definitely have been on Feaster. Gosh, I remember him coming to camp in 8th grade. Louisiana kid, most kids do, but he was starting at DeSoto in 9th grade, which doesn't happen often, top 10 receiver. They've got, I think A&M may lead, but that was also kind of the feel when LSU had 4 guys committed. Now they don't. So does that change things? He's on the short list of, I'd say, 4 to 5 receivers out there who have, if they called up and said, hey, I want in, that they're getting a serious conversation with the staff and getting on the phone with Brian Kelly. But I think you're also balancing that here. Whether it's Feaster or any of these guys, do you just try to hold on to your 3 and portal a guy, or do you try to get a 4th and then see where things take you? Because the reality is a lot of the guys in that room are getting a bit older, the Aaron Andersons and all them. So eligibility running out, does this become a little bit bigger of a class, or is it a kind of 3-man high school group and then portal some receivers? It'll be interesting to see.
What's your thought on what they do? I mean, are there any trends we've seen?
And, I think it's year by year. My guess would be that if they could take this is like the most obvious statement ever, it makes for bad radio. If they could get a 4th receiver that was good and it didn't make any of the other guys decommit, then they would do it, of course. So I think it's just that balance of, hey, who do we love? Who can we put together that will all stick? And then maybe we don't have to rely on the portal. But if there comes a point where it's like, hey, look, we think that our kind of NIL money, whatever, can be spent and resources spent elsewhere, and we're going to focus on holding on to the guys, and go get another Barry Brown or Nicky Anderson or Aaron Anderson, and Xavier Thomas. All these kids are from the portal. So I think you're in a really good spot right now. It's not like they don't have any guys committed. This is a good spot to be in when you're 3 of your only receiver commits are 3 of the top 10 receivers in the rankings. So you kind of just sit and wait, recruit other guys, and see how the dominoes fall.
Shea Dixon on 3, the Bengal Tiger. Get him on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at Shea Dixon. All right, man, we appreciate it. A great job with your focus today. On point.
I was going to make a joke about what did you say, but I'll just let it go. We'll save it. I'll do that in a couple of months, and the true listeners will get the joke.
Todd Peterson. Oh, got it.
That was quick.
Thank you, Shea. We'll see you next week. Take care. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact. And be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.